Hey Blades fans, welcome back to Hertz Arena and another Florida Everblades pregame show. I'm Hannah Jo Groves alongside Jake Maurice. Jake, the Blades a 4-1 win over the South Carolina Stingrays yesterday. I want to start right away by talking about Cole Moberg. Talk us through his goal and then also talk about what he's kind of got figured out right now, kind of on a hot streak.
Yeah, I mean, 19 seconds in, that's the best way to start the game, right? Fastest goal of the season for the Everblades. What he sees is a lane opens up where he can get it through to the net, but also a ton of traffic out front, where if he can thread it through that, then he's got a great chance against a goaltender who just can't see that puck. And he puts the shot through. That's been one of the greatest things about him. He's been great about getting pucks through to the net. They're not getting blocked out front on their way over, and then it goes to the wall. Other team has a chance to clear. He's getting them on net to create opportunities and create goals like he did last night. Crowd is instantly right into the game.
Oh, yeah.
Home bench is alive. Road bench is in some serious discomfort, right? You get Ty Taylor off his game right away, and that's a big part of why Florida was able to really take control of that period and, as a whole, the game.
I completely agree. So, yeah, as I said, 4 different goals by 4 different guys. Some defensemen involved in that as well. As a whole, what was clicking on offense, did you feel like, even though it included some defensemen?
Yeah, it was certainly the first period most of all was the best period for Florida in that game yesterday. You get a fast start, that obviously really helps. And Florida just kept their legs moving. They kept taking advantage of the mistakes South Carolina was making. It wasn't the cleanest game by the Stingrays, and Florida locked in on that and was able to pressure them off the puck to generate opportunities the other way. In their defensive zone, they didn't allow South Carolina to get any momentum going, which does help your offense as well, because it means you don't have to spend a lot of time tiring yourself out in your own zone. You're not stuck well away from the other side of the ice, going back to the bench a little beaten down. You're going back to the bench energized, ready for your next shift, and then the guys coming out for the next shift after you, well, they just tilt the ice back towards South Carolina's zone, and there really wasn't much of a threat, it felt like, for South Carolina to come back in that game once Florida got that Pfizer goal in the first.
Yeah, get more specific on that, because I know we talked about how pride is a big part of this narrative between these two teams, as they are the arch rivals against each other. But how did South Carolina specifically line up with what you were expecting from them?
It wasn't their cleanest game. It wasn't their best game. I'm sure they're going to be looking for a better performance tonight.
Yeah.
Part of that is you get it on them at 19 seconds in. That's going to rattle any team, right? That's not how anyone wants their game to start on the other side of it.
Right.
And then they get a power play goal. Okay, they're back in the game, but Florida responds right away and doesn't let them build momentum off of that, which is the opposite of what South Carolina did. The Stingrays gave up the early goal, and then they let Florida build off of that energy and keep going and going and going and going.
Right.
Stingrays couldn't do that. That's something they don't usually struggle with. They're not a high shot volume team, so I wasn't surprised that Florida controlled that. But usually their shots that they do get are really good, and they didn't really have that many opportunities. The whole second period as a whole was pretty much just kind of skated through by both teams, where Florida kept themselves in the lead. And then in the third, once the Everblades got that Sambrook goal, there just wasn't the pressure we're used to seeing from South Carolina, where it felt like Florida was in real danger.
Right, that makes sense. Okay, so before we get into the 3 keys of the game, I did want to talk about something that Taryn Pfizer mentioned in our Hertz #1 Club interview, and something that you and I talked about, is this culture that the team has that they cannot drop a game, no matter what the playoff picture looks like, no matter the implications. They feel like every single game is important, and that would have been the same a couple months ago, and it's the same now as we head into the postseason. I wanted to ask you how powerful that buy-in is from a team at this point in the season.
You're not going to go anywhere without it. I mean, if you start making concessions now, why wouldn't you make them in a couple weeks, right? If you're taking a shift off, a little bit willing to accept some bad habits creeping into your game, trying to go for something that benefits your stat line instead of the team's win column.
Right.
Well, you might still have that in your head when we get to game 1. And then you do that, and the other team takes the puck away, goes down and scores, and that's the game winner, right? Those little things can be the difference between going home early and going all the way to the Kelly Cup final. So you can't allow those kind of thoughts to get into your head, because yes, it's tempting. I mean, including tonight, there's 3 games left. Florida's already got pretty much everything locked up, right? They've got the division, they've got the playoff spot. They're just waiting for their opponent to show up here in a couple weeks, basically. But if you act like that, if you let the standards slip, well, then you're not going to be competing for championships. You're going to be out of the playoffs early. We've seen it so many times. When you let bad habits creep in, the bad habits eventually just become the way you play, and it ruins your season. And this group is too good to let that happen.
They are, and it's a culture thing for sure. They said even, Taryn worded it this way. He said, yeah, you can say, oh, we have 70-some games, you can drop one. No, that's not how we feel.
No.
We want to win every one.
Absolutely. And our fans, they want us to win every one.
Absolutely, and we'll get to the fan appreciation in just a second. So, Jake, at the end of the day, this still is our arch rival that's here in the building with us, so we want another win against them. Give us the Direct Effect Marketing 3 keys of the game.
Well, we saw, especially in that first period, it can get a little chippy, and it can get chippy real fast between these two teams.
Yeah.
With that, you got to stay smart, right? You're trying to stay healthy. You don't want to be putting yourself into the penalty box and giving the Stingrays an opportunity. They got their lone goal in the game on the power play,
Yep.
right? It gave them a chance to get back into it. They just couldn't capitalize. You don't want to give them another chance tonight on those man advantages. So stay calm, stay disciplined after the whistles especially.
Mm-hmm.
Second off, limiting turnovers. That kind of plays into what we just talked about before
Yes.
about the not letting bad habits creep in, because that's often how bad habits burn you. You're trying to force something, you're trying to make something happen when it's not really there,
Right.
and instead of making the smart play or trying to make the stylish one, you cough up the puck and then it's going the other way.
Yeah.
Limiting that kind of stuff important for Florida tonight. And then finally, the Everblades did a great job last night of using the energy from a sellout, energetic crowd
Yeah.
to fuel their game. Big part of why they dominated the first period and walked away with the win last night. So when the fans are cheering again tonight, and they're going to be cheering
They're
again
going to be
tonight,
cheering.
use it to help you get the win.
And tonight is Fan Appreciation Night. That's something else that Taryn talked about last night in our Hurts Number 1 Club interview, was he goes to other places, and sure, there are people in the building,
Oh yeah.
but they don't care. They're not as devoted as these fans are, and in my opinion, these fans make the Florida Everblades the Florida Everblades. You've talked about how important these fans are before, especially now.
Well, when you talk about things like the culture, the
Yeah.
expectations, the championship pride, it's hard to sell that to players if they were to come in here and they're coming into a quiet building with nothing happening.
Yes.
No, they're coming into a rocking building every night with
Oh,
fans
yeah.
who have their backs through everything that happens, all the ups and downs of a season that the Blades have gone through. Remember, we were struggling in the first few weeks of the season. Fans stuck by the guys, trusted that they would get it right, and they did. Now we're in a really great spot at the end of the season, and it's one of the best nights of the year. We get to say thank you to the fans who make all of this around Hertz Arena possible.
Yes, you guys do. And I will be in the stands with you guys giving you all kinds of giveaways. You'll be seeing a lot of me. I'll be seeing a lot of you, which is how I prefer it. And Jake, even though it's not Skunk Ape night, these Skunk Ape jerseys are still up for auction on that Dash Auction app. So go get yours. I think a lot of them are already gone.
But there's still some open.
There are still some open. The first 2 groups are done tonight. The last group is done tomorrow. Put your name in Dash Auction app for these Skunk Ape jerseys. Jake, it's time for warm-ups. And then next, it'll be the South Carolina Stingrays versus your Florida Everblades. We'll see you there.